from growing up at a farm in the grassroots and hinterland of India to the US, working for companies like Microsoft, starting his own company, exiting the whole company, coming back, taking that hard decision to work with over 4 million farmers in India. This is the story of Harvesting Farmers Network that we're going to double down on today with Ruchit Garg. Welcome to the Double Down Pod. Hey Ruchit, welcome to the Double Down Pod. I'm really excited that we are doing this in person, actually in the HFN office in Mohali. So really excited to be here because I think it's very important for me to feel how this grassroots work is happening. And the idea of the Double Down Pod that I mentioned to you briefly was that we want to kind of get into the details of how things are done. And I think nobody better than you to talk about grassroots, going into tech, then coming back to grassroots and then starting something like HFN. So now I think before we kind of go into the details of your personal journey on how you got here, I just wanted to start by framing this whole conversation around the agri-tech world, right? Not just the agri-tech world, but actually the India agricultural story. So if you were to kind of give me some kind of state of the union of where the India agriculture story is today, what will that be? The numbers, high level. How much do we know about the India agriculture story? And my general audience should also get a feeling of, to understand what is the importance of the India agricultural industry. We all have heard, we have all grown up with this, but I think to make it real, let's just kind of ground that conversation.
Thank you for coming over and looking forward to this. To put it in a nutshell, we are still a, farming first country. We have about 120 million small farmers. Numbers are debatable, 120, 130, people have different numbers. Agriculture as an industry is still the largest employer in India and contributes a massive number to India's GDP. That's in a nutshell, but we should quickly look at why it is a strength or potential strength and why it is sort of a challenge as well. So what has happened that over the generations, the land has been getting distributed amongst the sons and the grandsons and daughters and stuff like that. So the average land holding has gone down tremendously. And India mostly ends up being a country of small farm holders. We call it small scale farmers at HFN.
Right.
And if you look at definitions of World Bank and other places, anybody who holds less than 2 hectares of land is called small scale farmers. Why it is important for India to look at it is because most of a very, very significant amount of population is still involved in agriculture directly or indirectly. So the journey we are looking at to become this multi-trillion GDP, some big numbers are getting thrown about,
right,
has to go through the rural India.
Right.
Because if we don't do that, we might be able to achieve a large GDP, but you would end up having a secluded, very large population, and that might result into some sort of unstable country. So we cannot have, it is going to be very, very hard for India as a country to achieve this multi-trillion dollar dream.
Right.
Plus, even if they do it, and if agriculture is not part of it, we probably will have revolt in our hands. So it's extremely important from the nation, from the safety, security of the country that we, keep an eye and do things in and around agriculture more so than any other field. Yeah.
Got it. And I think just to kind of build on that story, right? Like 45% of our workforce is in agriculture in India. That's the number that I've heard in my research and seen it. And then, almost 18% of our GDP comes from agriculture or agriculture related ecosystem and things, how you define it, right? So clearly the road to that $5 trillion economy ambition that we have here in India cannot be excluding this huge amount of population that's involved in it. It kind of feeds the world, it kind of feeds the nation. And then, the other interesting aspect that we talked about briefly is that, India typically has the small, small farm holders, like
Right.
as you define it. Like, how do you define it technically? Is it, what's the number, right? Like, it's like less than some number
Less
of
than 2
acres,
hectares.
less than 2 hectares.
Yes.
Less than
Yes.
2 hectares is what is defined as a small scale farmer, right? And that is the majority of our population,
Correct.
right? So that comes with its own set of unique challenges,
Right.
right? And the government and everybody else involved in this sector has been doing a lot of these initiatives. So, from that lens, how would you rate our journey in the last, maybe few decades,
Right.
on where the potential actually is and where we should be playing for, coming out of the agricultural economy, versus where we are today and where things have been,
Right.
right?
So I think because these are state subjects and the population is large in agriculture,
Right.
most of the political parties have tried to leverage it. Unfortunately, they have used their power to do things which I think might look very, farmer friendly, but has created problem for the farmers in long run. I'll give some examples.
Sure.
Right? For example, there's massive amount of subsidies. There was a time when food was not as much available, and you have to incentivize growing wheat and paddy and things like that.
Right.
But I think we are now stuck in our past, where it feels like there's a lot of disconnect between what is on the ground happening, where the farmers or the agriculture needs to go,
Yep.
and where and how the policies are getting made and executed. I believe that some of the policies which this government is driving or trying to drive is on the right path, but I think it is slow, and lot needs to be done on the ground on actuality. That means even if there are things on paper which is happening, it needs to hit the ground up and running much fast. Otherwise, again, we get into this space where either India doesn't get this multi-trillion dollar goal, or this very large segment in agriculture will be left behind.
Left behind, right. So, we'll actually kind of get into the details of, what can be done and where are the real bottlenecks, and we'll talk a little bit about it. But, in the overall grand scheme of things, we do have a substantial opportunity,
Yes.
to kind of improve things.
Yes.
And I think we'll get into the HFN story as well. But, before we kind of do that, there is a context to all of this, where you are, right? So why don't we kind of just go back in a little bit into history,
Sure.
and go back to your childhood, because I think some of these things that people come back to, in my opinion, are things that people kind of sometimes, very rarely you will get directly into the ultimate mission of your life.
Right.
You'll probably do several other things along the way, keeping an eye towards maybe where you are going to get to, and then there is some reason why you come back to your original path. So, maybe let's talk a little bit about that journey for you, right? So go back to your childhood and share with us, what was that childhood like?
I grew up in lower middle class family like most of us in India. I lost my father very early. I was only 9. So went through a lot of challenges, as you may imagine. But I think all those things, those hardships made me really, one, strong in terms of, my resilience. And also I saw a lot of poverty and things which comes along with it very clearly, which allows me to understand what it means to be wherein you cannot afford to even buy a ticket of the bus to go to your college. So I would bicycling 30 kilometers every day.
Wow.
To go to college, and bunch of stuff like that, right? So it allowed me to become more resilient. It allowed me to understand more what it looks like to be on the bottom of pyramid. And I'll be frank, like I was not amongst the one wherein I was not getting food. I mean, some people I meet, they feel, maybe this is the case. But still, India is pretty large, and if you start thinking about those small things which are not available to you, it brings a lot of understanding, lot of empathy about how world works and why it is important for us to think about this very, very, very large segment of people, because at the end of the day, as a country, those are the people you need to take care of.
Right.
You cannot build a country just, you cannot build a large building without having a very strong foundation.
True.
And this is a very large segment which, if you do not pay attention to, the whole building might crumble. So this whole multi-trillion-dollar GDP building, which we may want to build, will crumble if we don't work at the foundation level. Yeah.
Got it. And then, so childhood, which had definitely got a lot of challenges.
Yes.
How did you kind of, pursue your academic ambitions that time, right? Like, what was your day like, right? Like, I'm sure, you were kind of dealing with this thing and you handled a few things, but then how was your academic life?
I think I was not a backbencher, but I was not the front bencher as well. No, in fact, I was made to sit in front because I was the shortest guy. So I remember sitting in front. I went to Kendriya Vidyalaya.
Right.
Did my schooling. Wanted to go to engineering, but didn't have access to material and stuff like that. Probably I didn't have it in me.
Right.
But ended up doing my masters in computers.
Right.
And to cut story short, I ended up working at Microsoft in India in R&D. I was a program manager, technical program manager there. They loved my work, so they moved me to US headquarters in a couple of years. So I think in 2008, I moved to US, worked in Microsoft US, helped build Xbox, contributed in Xbox operating systems, Windows phones, and things like that.
Right.
Got bored, left Microsoft in 2011, built a company, tech company, sold it off. And at that point, I started thinking about meaning of life, because from not being able to afford a ticket, a bus ticket
Right.
to go to college,
Right.
to now, being able to buy a house in Silicon Valley, being able to buy a car, I started thinking about meaning of life. And my up close encounter with the challenges I've seen as a childhood sort of made me think about where I should spend the rest of my energy.
Right.
And that's when harvesting started.
Got it. So let's maybe double down a little bit on that journey that you took, right? So you were studying here. You went into you kind of were nurturing ambitions to do something big in life, right?
Yeah.
Like that is something very early on, right?
Still I'm.
And I heard in one of the earlier conversations that you were reading Harvard Business Review.
Yes.
In your early childhood, I don't know.
I was in 11th grade.
11th grade. Yeah. But 11th grade, a lot of people don't even know about Harvard Business Review at that point in time. Now, definitely. But then you were trying to get hold of a physical copy because there was no internet at that time, right? Yeah. So how did you manage that?
Yeah, so my mom was a clerk in Indian Railways library.
Okay.
And that was a boon looking back, because, after school, I would just sneak into the library. That library was meant for Indian Railway officers.
Right.
And obviously, very well funded. They had like amazing books like University Physics, University, and those are original hardbound copies there.
Scientific American.
Yeah, S.L. Loney,
right.
of trigonometry,
right.
Things like that. And I would just, I love reading books. So I started reading that. I remember reading Road Ahead by Bill Gates, because there was a copy there.
That was the year 2000.
I remember reading Tannenbaum. It was a very costly.
That's right.
Book.
That's right.
And I read that. And then some of the good books I really enjoyed and I still remember was, HBR, because one, they had really glossy paper, and then there's really nice case studies. And I was somewhere harboring, I might probably not thinking as a business, but it was all attractive to me. So I was reading a lot of the stuff available on those magazines. Yeah.
So you were kind of watering the entrepreneurial seed
perhaps
in you during that time. So that journey then
in fact I would interject. I started making money when I was 10, like a little bit of it, because again, as a bookworm, I would buy a lot of books, comics and novels. And when my father died, I was like, oh, I have responsibility. Not that my mom was saying, it is more like internal, oh, kuch karna chahiye. You have to do something. And I started my own small library, which I would operate during the summer. And I would rent my books to even the milkman, to the grocery guy, to the kids around. And that was my first money making experience. I started building I had a small register where I started understanding how to check in the book, how to check out the book, how to keep the basic accounts and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you were entrepreneurial right from that time.
Somewhat,
right?
yeah.
Somewhat. And then how did you kind of end up in Microsoft?
Oh, that's another very interesting story. I don't know
Sure.
if, have you already...
No, not really, but would love to hear it.
So, um, I went to Japan in 2003, 4, something like that. I was working for this startup in Lucknow, and I was sent to Japan to build an IVR, interactive voice response system, for one of the largest bank in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
I was staying in Utenji, and the office was in Meguro, and the bank was Shinsei Bank.
Mm-hmm.
So Shinsei Bank's first IVR in English and Japanese was built by our team, and I
Got
was
it.
the member out there. So when I was there, I realized that the phone is a big thing, because in 2002 it was pre-Symbian, pre-iPhone era,
Right.
wherein we still was at, I think Nokia 3310
That's
is
right.
where
The text-based
yeah,
systems.
was there. And I could see that this is where the world is going.
Right.
I could see all the people stick to their phone all the time in the train and stuff like that. So when I came back, I resigned and started my first company in 2002 or 3, something like that. I think that's about the time we met with the gentleman you were mentioning. And my focus was in building a value-added services for mobile phones. So I was trying to sell games to BPL, Airtel, Spice, companies like that. And
Right.
I had contracts from, some of the largest, European gaming companies to resell in India.
Okay.
And I was able to do this in one table in a small corner quarters in a railway. We were staying back then.
Wow.
And it was going on there, and I was realizing, it's not moving as fast as I would like. I need some mentorship. And one day I saw a newspaper ad that there is this vice president of one of the largest gaming company, entertainment company in US. He's visiting India. And I thought I should go meet. But back in the days, emails were a little less, mobile phone was a little
Less frequent, yeah.
So the date was next day. So obviously news was not traveling as fast. So in the newspaper cutting, I saw this gentleman is available next day in Delhi, who is one of the largest gaming company vice president. I should go meet. So I didn't have money, I didn't have time. So I was able to find a space in a general compartment of Lucknow Delhi Express, something like that.
Right.
And I sat whole night, 8-9 hours on a suitcase to go meet. And I went to this place in Delhi. Obviously, I didn't have appointment. He was not expecting, so I was standing outside whole day. And then it was like 4 or 5 in the evening, and he came out and said, "Hey, you know what? I don't have time anymore. I have a flight to catch."
Right.
Me being me, I said, "You know what? Let me come to you to the airport." So I actually sat. I just sort of, pushed myself
Sales
in his
101.
car and said, "You know what? That's fine. I'm going in the same direction.
Right.
Can I join?" And I sat in his car, and we had good half an hour conversation about all the crazy ideas I've been doing. And some ideas was, let's send SMS to patients, because people forget when to take medicine
Medicines.
or gaming and things like that. So I was just talking, and this gentleman was listening.
Right.
Why I'm telling all this story is nothing happened then, but a year or two later, this gentleman joined Microsoft as general manager and started a net new team at Hyderabad, because he moved from US to India to take this really interesting
At
position
IDC.
at
The
IDC,
IDC. Yes.
Microsoft. And he reached out to me saying, "Hey, I've started a gaming division. If you know anybody who is interested, should join." And I referred a bunch of my phones because I was in value-added services. I knew some gaming folks. And one day I said, "You know what, my startup is not working. and I emailed him saying, hey, you know what, my startup is not working. Can I also apply? He said, why not? And then
Right.
I went through a bunch of rounds, and that's how I ended up being in Microsoft.
Nice,
Yeah, so
nice.
it's a big story.
Right.
And somehow, if I reflect that, oh, if I had not taken that arduous train journey.
I think you made a very important point that small decisions have a cascading domino effect
It does.
in many people's lives. And I think connecting the dots is the most important thing. So that arduous train journey leads you to kind of actually be part of Microsoft,
Yes.
One of the greatest companies of all time. Both you and I know very well. And so you kind of go into this environment of Microsoft.
Right.
And you work in Hyderabad for maybe a few years.
3 years.
3 years. And then you take a leap of faith to jump continents to go to the United States of
Yes.
America. So let's talk a little bit about that decision. How did that decision come around?
I never dreamt that, I have to go to US. I mean, there are a lot of people who dream about it. It was just an opportunity coming in. I called some people that, hey, should I take this opportunity? Somebody said, hey, no, if they are paying X, you can go. And it's a good idea to go.
Right.
And we were expecting our first kid. But we still decided to go. I called up my general manager in US and said, this is the situation. If you send me a business class ticket, I'll come. And they did, because we were expecting, obviously,
That's right.
the kid, and
You wanted to
we
make
were
it comfortable.
towards
Yeah.
the third trimester and stuff like that, and they were happy to do it. And I said, you know what, let's go there for a couple of years. We'll come back. It's good to have this exposure. Just that's pretty much it.
Right. So you land in Redmond.
I landed in Redmond, yes.
Right.
Seattle, yes.
Seattle. And so I think one of the other things that I think we should try to understand is this whole idea of what happens in these big companies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So let's talk about from that lens. That I'm sure this was a transition from India.
Massive transition.
Massive transition.
Yeah.
So let's talk about first the professional part of the transition. So like once you land into this thing, what is the environment like that you kind of used as an opportunity to learn a lot? Like what did it make you do? Because I think what I really want to unpack is this whole idea of exposure inside a US company in the US. It's not really about glorifying that this place is better than India or whatever, but I think it's also the idea of what are some of the most purposeful decisions or exposure elements or experience elements that you get in a company like Microsoft.
Right.
That kind of maybe future defined how you behave and how you work.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about that.
So I think there are two aspects: challenges and opportunities and learnings.
Sure.
So challenges, a lot of challenges. In looking back, it felt like, I didn't even knew how to speak even this much fluent English. I still struggle. But back then, it was still tougher, 2008.
Right.
And I'll give you one small incident which hopefully will make people realize how disconnected the whole thing was.
Right.
I went in there, I did amazing work. Obviously, I think it was a couple of weeks in, and my manager, David Wells, he was super happy with what I delivered, and he was like, and I had no idea what that means. I was just looking at his hand, and he had to tell me, oh, this is a high five.
Right.
So imagine, how much disconnect I have had from Lucknow. And that's just one example. And it showed up in many places, because I'm realizing there are a bunch of people out there talking about some game and stuff, and I couldn't relate.
Culturally, you couldn't relate.
Culturally, there was a lot of differences or deltas, I would say. And I think somewhere, if I look back, that made me decide to move away from Microsoft, because I felt that some of the managers I got weren't able to understand and empathize the fact that, here's a guy who English is not his native language. He just come in to Microsoft US and has a lot of other things going on, and they were seeing me at par with a lot of other folks, which is fair from his part.
Right.
But from my part, there was a lot of struggle inside me in terms of, they are not seeing that, there's so much
challenge.
There's huge ramp in front of me.
Right.
So that's, the challenges. But opportunity-wise, I would say it opened my mind, right? I was like, oh, wow, I could do this, I could do that, I could build, I could be part of the team, which like build Xbox, right? Multi-million number of people across the world use that product, and
That's right.
I am making that contribution. I am Before I left Microsoft, I was already going out meeting startups, helping other startups, things like that, and it was so amazing to see, even the very very big people in Seattle, Redmond were just open for a conversation. They were responding to the email
Right.
and things like that. So
Right.
it definitely helped me think big. It definitely helped me believe that I couldn't do it, and also somewhere it also made me feel that even the big guys are available, and they are available to mentor. They can respond.
Right.
If you make some positive, if you engage with them in some
It's
sort
like
of a
the other
conversation.
example of the train journey in a different context. If
Correct.
you make the effort,
Yes.
you can open any door that you want.
And I'll give you an example. And
Right.
When I built my first company, 9slides, we were written in GeekWire, which is one of the popular blogs in
Tech blogs,
Northwest,
yeah. Right.
US. And suddenly an email came. That email was from Ray Ozzie.
Ray Ozzie.
And Ray Ozzie emailing, "Congratulations, Ruchit.
Right.
I have never seen a first version of the product working so nice, but here are the bugs."
Right. Oh.
So imagine, right? I'm out of nowhere. I am building this startup 9slides in a
Yeah.
garage,
Right.
literally in a garage, and here comes the second chief software architect
Of Microsoft. That's
after
right.
Bill Gates,
Right.
a guy who built Lotus
That's right.
Notes, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
And he emailing out of the blue, and that's so amazing, right?
Right.
So that all of that made me realize that there's a slight difference in the world we live in India versus US, and I think that those things have had a lot of lasting impact on me.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I think the pursuit of excellence, the pursuit of research, because when you talk about some of these stalwarts,
Yeah.
right, they continue to dirty their hands
Yeah.
in real stuff,
Yeah.
which is I think extremely important if we are also going to be going down that path.
Yeah.
I think especially with this AI wave, you cannot make it in isolation. I know we are talking about a different thing, but
Yeah.
the point is that you can either choose to make a wrapper or you kind of get into the details.
Yeah.
So without hard work, sometimes the results are not going to be optimal. So but coming back to the 9slide story. So this is where you are actually now. You've done the jump.
Dipping the toes, yes.
Yeah, you've
Yes.
jumped. You have jumped from India into the US,
yeah.
and then into a complicated environment, and tough environment, and challenging environment at Microsoft, and then you decide to be an entrepreneur in the US.
Yes.
So, how did that decision happen? Because you felt really comfortable that now you are exposed enough, you're ready, and your worldview had expanded, that you wanted to actually go and start a business there. That's how it kind of began.
Sort of, because I was lucky enough to get green card, pretty early on, and
So you don't have to pay $5 million right now to kind of get that.
so that helped.
Right.
But then somewhere it was brewing,
Right.
that I have to do something of my own. Everybody comes to US to do something.
Right.
Here's an opportunity for me. I have a green card. Why can't I do it? And bunch of ideas was sort of going through.
Right.
And I forgot what was your question.
So my question was really about the fact that you decided to turn entrepreneur
Yes.
in the US.
Yes.
Which was also probably another big decision.
Yes. So, and in my head, and I still run by that, is that we are born with nothing and we'll go with nothing. And in my mind, there's nothing. So there's nothing to lose.
Okay.
So if there's nothing to lose, why don't we just go and do something?
Right.
And that was
So you basically start from zero, and then you can fall back to zero,
Correct.
and then you can go back.
I know how it looks like to be in zero. At most, what will happen? I'll bet zero. I have seen zero, how the zero looks like. So I think all of that made me fearless, and I'm not afraid of the zero. And that allowed me to take massive risk. Like, we were expecting second kid when I left Microsoft.
Right.
For 9slides, and I remember there were months wherein we had no medical insurance, and it
That's
was
the craziest that it can get in the US.
It is the craziest thing you can get. There's no job,
Right.
there's no insurance. We're expecting kid in I think couple of months, and we're trying to figure out how do we do this thing? Should we do Cobra, which is sort of insurance by Microsoft, but it costs a bomb.
Right.
Lot of stuff. But I think it's leap of faith. We did it. It went through its own cycle. I was able to build the company, raise money from some very good names, and I was able to sell the company as well. So yeah.
And that company you exited in the US itself in
Yes.
some time. And then when you had exited, what was your game plan right now? So you've basically seen a full entrepreneurial cycle
Yes.
from start to finish.
Yes.
Leaving a big company, starting your own business.
Yeah. I
Raising
actually
money.
bought a company in between.
You bought a company as well,
Yes.
so you probably merged it. And then you also
However
kind of...
crazy that sounds now.
No.
I mean, looking back, I think I should not have bought a company.
But why would that be?
I mean, again, when you have experience, you realize that's a wrong decision I have taken. Probably I should not have done that. But everything has pros and cons. I now know how to buy a company. I have written the M&A deal myself.
Right.
I negotiated myself.
Right.
So I have gone through those cycles myself.
Right.
Without much of a
Yeah.
big lawyer firm and stuff like that. So
Right.
that sort of
Right.
adds up, I think.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I worked for a failed startup of sorts in the early part of my career, and the only learning that I define very well of that particular stage is that when a company, did not succeed, obviously, but at the end of the day, I learned what not to do in a startup.
Right.
So that I think was the biggest learning for me. So it's I think kind of similar for you. So when we, see this.
I'll add to that, right? Because if you don't come from business families, right, no matter what you read in colleges, it's never going to be same as actually living through.
That's right.
Again, maybe I'm getting old, but the same text, the same movie, the same documentary hits you differently because you have seen more colors of the life.
Right.
And the same statement will sound, feel, have different understanding.
Correct.
So I think when you go through all of these things, it sort of makes you, maybe you can call it wiser in interpreting things.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like, there is net additive in life, even if it is stacked on many failures and learnings and challenges. I think that is something that I also fundamentally believe in. And there is a place for everything.
Yeah.
So, this is great. You're kind of done with this whole thing. So when did this itch start to happen inside you that you need to come back to India? Was this something at the back of your mind? You wanted to kind of do something? So what was that thought process? And I know you kind of transitioned, I think, within the US itself to start harvesting.co.
Yeah.
That was the name of the company. So talk to us a little bit about that transition that you made and why you made that transition.
Sure. So in 2016, when I sold the previous company, 9Slide, I started thinking about what next. Obviously, there's a void because suddenly you have nothing else to do because somebody has bought the company. Obviously,
And you do have capital.
We have some capital.
Some capital.
I didn't have fuck you money.
Okay.
You can
That's
remove
okay.
it if you want.
That's okay.
But I had money. I didn't have, I would say, a purpose, I would say. I was handing over post M&A things. I joined the company who bought the previous company as a contractor, helping them merge the things and stuff like that.
Right.
They wanted me to sort of take on bigger, larger role, but somewhere I felt that this is not what I want to do. Because again, as I mentioned earlier, I come from, ground and things like that. I started thinking about, let's build something which has a lot more meaning to the life. Because my grandfather was a small farmer back in UP, India. And I personally have gone through a lot of challenges. I thought, let's build something which is super challenging, super meaningful. Because if you look from the world scale, about 480 million farmers are there in the world. 120 million is in India.
Right.
And if the small farmers actually feed 70-80% of the planet.
Right.
And more you look closely, it looks like you will understand that how important they are as part of the ecosystem.
Right.
However, they are left behind. So somebody needs to do something. Instead of waiting for somebody else to do it, why can't I do it?
Right.
It's a massive multi-trillion-dollar challenge.
That's right.
It's very hard, but so what?
Right.
If we solve it, we will be a multi-trillion-dollar company.
Got it.
And that led me to start, harvesting in US.
Right.
The focus was somewhat different, like how we were achieving or trying to build it. Uh, as we continue to build and learn from the market, we sort of decided to move to India and
Right.
then go more
Right.
grassroots and stuff
So that
like
was
that.
originally more like a tech first company, right?
Correct.
Because I think you were in this nice
Yes.
place.
Yes,
filled
I
with-
was in Silicon Valley.
You were in
I just
Silicon Valley.
exited a tech company.
That's right.
I was surrounded by a lot of very, very big tech names, and I was like, and I was still trying to solve problems for small scale farmers, but from the tech first orientation.
Right.
And that thesis is still true, but it has some holes, which I realized 1.5, 2 years down the line. And that's when I said, you know what, let's pack this up, and pivot and move to India, work at a grassroots level.
Got it.
All the efforts we have done is not wasted. I think very soon we will bring this out from a box. And when those two worlds will meet, we will see some amazing stuff happening.
So, Ruchit, I think you made a very important point here, right? So, the grassroots and then the technology bit. So, maybe let's unpack that going forward. So, help us understand what does this mean in your parlance.
Yeah, so when I started building this small scale farming solution, coming from the pure tech world in Silicon Valley, I was trying to solve the small scale farmer issue from the global lens, because as I mentioned, in the world we have about 480 million small scale farmers. They feed about 60, 70, 80% of the world. They are also the best keepers of the ecosystem, the environment, because they are out there in the field. What they do on the field actually impacts climate.
Right.
And they are also the best keepers of it. That means they know more than us urban people what is needed to keep the forest intact and the animals and stuff like that. So when I started building this thesis, what I realized that all small scale farmers, not just in India, have three major issues: access to finance, access to quality and affordable input, and access to markets. And if you look, there is a common thread here, which is all of this is information asymmetry problem. And I wanted to solve that problem by using AI and remote sensing data and say, hey, what if there is a Google Maps for agriculture with some APIs, wherein if I pass a GPS location of the farm, then my AI should be able to tell whether it is a farmland, what is the crop, and what is the yield. Because if you have those 3 data point per farm,
Right.
that will unlock us this multi-trillion dollar annual market. So what we started doing, we started leveraging data from NASA, European Space Agency. We would process terabytes of data on everyday basis. A multispectral imagery we were doing. I hired folks from NASA and ESA, former scientists. Somebody were working in Germany and other places.
Right.
And we built this high performance computing engine, 20,000 VMs running parallel.
Right.
When you push a button, it will wake up. It will
Right.
take a
So
large.
this is predating all the AI stuff right now. It's not really. It was
is
AI
super,
at that
super
part,
compute heavy.
but super compute heavy.
Compute heavy.
Yeah.
We would pick a small portion of the land swath, let's say 100.
There were no
kilometers
transformers
square.
and there were no LLMs at that point in time.
There was none.
Right.
And then it will wake up and it will sort of break this large swath of land into small pieces. And then we will do this multi-dimensional compute there. And then when the answer is, let's say it breaks into 20,000 pieces, and then the results are there, then we weave back that to be able to sort of generate
An
some
aggregate.
answers.
Right.
So, there are online videos where you can see where we pass some lat long and then machine would say, hey, with 89% accuracy, we think there's a paddy there.
Wow.
And things like that. There are live demos,
Right.
videos out there
Right.
about HFN.
Right.
We started there, and the idea was that we would probably sell this intelligence to microfinance institutions, because if I could make it easier and faster for a microfinance institution to give loans to the farmer, it will make it easier for farmer to take the loan. It will become cheaper for them.
Right.
So I started selling this solution to MFIs in Ethiopia, Nigeria, Kenya, Myanmar, and we did some deployment with banks. But more so, I started realizing gap in our model, as well as just the disconnect between what we want to solve and what these MFIs.
Yeah.
I felt that these, even if I am able to save, let's say 25-30% operational cost for MFI, it's not going to get passed to the farmer. It's a
Right.
very, very long road ahead. A lot of these MFIs still were not using digital tools. And that's where I realized that, you know what, I mean, I could have been doing so many of different things in Silicon Valley, but I chose to start harvesting to help small farmers.
Right.
And if this is sort of not helping me
Achieve that goal.
achieve that broader goal, so one fine day we decided to say, you know what, let's move back to India. So in with 15 days, I've sold everything, all my assets in US, and moved to India.
That was like a very quick decision. So like,
I have been
why did
crazy
you move
like
it in like
this.
15 days?
Yeah, because I think if you give more time to think, it sort of dilutes the thing, and then
You second
there's a lot
guess yourself.
You start second guessing a lot of things. Yeah, it's been crazy. Like going to US was crazy. Meeting the manager was crazy. Coming back is crazy, and the life is full of craziness, I guess. Yeah.
So a little bit of luck also factoring into the equation. So I'm also assuming that at that point in time, I think it would have been extremely compute heavy. So the resources
Yeah,
that
I think we were
involved.
still very early, but I think my bills were $50,000 a month or something
Right,
like that.
right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then I think maybe economically also it may not have
Yeah,
made sense. Although
because,
the technology was
see,
amazing.
I was doing the kind of work even maybe research universities might be doing.
Right.
And I started to realize that, oh, I probably need 100, $200 million to start. In the kind of money now, Sam Altman and Elon Musk is raising, I probably needed that kind of money. And I
Right.
still think we can do it.
Right.
And we would do it one day. It's just that, I've also realized that you need to have shown some progress to be able to raise that kind of money.
Right.
And I didn't have it, like at least at that point. And we said, you know what? One, it is not taking me to the right direction. Second, it will take enormous amount of capital to reach there. And I just felt disconnected. And then we said, you know what? Let's go to India because we understand the language, the culture, and it is big enough for us to sort of build something sustainable. And that's when HFN started. Yeah.
Got it. So let's now switch gears and now
Yeah.
come back to India.
Yeah.
And the story here is that, I think there is a commonality of theme, right? So we started by discussing at the beginning of this pod that, India is kind of full of small holding farmers. Then your story also within the US, your own personal background coming from a small holding farm background. We are now coming back into that same zone where you're saying, no farmer should be left behind.
Yeah.
Which is what Harvesting Farmer Network.
Yeah. Leave no
story
farmer
is.
behind. Yeah.
Leave no farmer behind, right? That's the story. So fundamentally, that thread I think is a common thread right through your life's journey, even though you went into tech companies.
Yes.
So now when you come back to this particular aspect, what is it that you started to build here in India and how did that journey spark off?
Sure. So, as you said, luck favored. When we came July 2019, and couple of months in India, COVID happened.
Right.
So we were all sort of locked in our homes, and
Early 2020, yeah, that's
yes,
right.
And it took a couple of months for us to sort of get adjusted. We didn't have any, identities and stuff like that. We sort of started building, the base in India with two little kids. We need to figure out school and stuff like that. But then COVID happened. We were all locked up, and we were not able to do anything really. But because I was in touch with farmers and I was seeing the news that, hey, this farmer is not able to sell the crop and he's feeding broccolis to cattle or throwing bottle guards in the canal.
Right.
It was like it was still sort of burning in me. Let's do something. What is it that I could do? So April 12th, 2020, I decided to start a Twitter channel called Harvesting FN. And I just randomly posted about 6 farmers saying, hey, here's a Hari Prasad from Bihar who has 500 kilos of papaya available at 3 rupees kilo. Here's a phone number, go call. And I just made those 6 tweets and it somehow took off. And that made me realize that I was trying to do financial inclusion for small farmers through all this tech heavy loading, but that made me realize the real financial inclusion for small farmers is helping them get better price. That's the first order business. This loans and insurance is a second order business.
That's right.
So let's just focus on the first order business. And I was not making money, but I was just helping farmers during COVID.
Right.
In about 18 months, I personally posted about $500 million worth of crops.
Wow.
On Twitter, wherein 4 in the morning to 10, 12 in the night, farmers all across India were messaging me personally on my phone because my phone number became viral. People were calling me, texting me. So I was started with this small thing wherein they would text me and I will text on their behalf on Twitter. And then suddenly, somebody sold 20,000 kilos of grapes to, pineapples to stuff like that. And that was very encouraging. And then some people started saying, hey, I'm not able to find the farmer from Maharashtra. And,
I need this.
I need this, I need that.
Right.
So I think we need a website. So somebody said, you need a website because there's so many farmers coming in. So we built hfnmandi.com.
Right.
And then somebody said, you know what? Somebody from Chennai is calling Kashmir farmers saying, hey, I need 1 kilo banana or 1 kilo, apple. And that cannot happen because it doesn't make logistical sense. Right. So we started building those pieces that, hey, if you are from Chennai, farmer can just tell us the farm gate price, but we will do mathematics to tell, okay, it is 100 rupees kilo at the farm, but to ship it to Chennai, it might take 500 rupees.
Right.
So this would be our end cost and so on and so on. So we started building a lot of those things. Models, like basic things, like from my perspective, having written bootloaders back in the days
right.
to this very small thing. But it was very, very useful.
So you started writing the operating system, like you said, for distribution of this entire agricultural wealth that we have in the country.
It's a great word you have used because in our mind, we are building an operating system for small scale farming. Because right now, with all the things happening where the market is going, you need to think it differently. These are different players and you need to build layers after layers after layers so that they can engage with the modern market.
Right.
So the tech audience might understand, you have a hardware and then you have an operating system level, then there's an application layer.
Correct.
And then there's a user interface and stuff like that.
Right.
And we are trying to build layers upon layers upon layers so that it's easier for people, whether it is government, whether it is another startup, whether it is other big company who want to engage, interact,
a big buyer,
things like that.
Right.
We are building those foundational layers, whether in the terms of digital or physical.
Right.
Sort of building an operating system for small farmers so that it's easier for app developer to engage with them. It's easier for user to engage with them.
Right. So, I think this is where the fundamental thing is really, really what kind of excites me about HFN as well, right? So this is literally like building open source software, right? Yeah. So you do something, it gets tested and validated at the grassroots level.
Right.
And I think the numbers are really fascinating. You're almost like 4 million farmers that you're touching. You've probably got about 1 million hectares, if I'm not wrong, million acres, right?
About 2 million, I think.
2 million acres?
Yeah, I have to check.
2 million acres of, farmland under some kind of monitoring, some influence, and then, number of farmers we've talked about. There is this constant feedback that you're getting. So you're literally creating an omni-channel work model, right? Yes. So there's not just tech, but tech comes in at the right elements to give you that unfair leverage or advantage. What have been the insights in this whole process? Because what I want to do is also now demystify this a little bit. I think, tell me a little bit about what informs HFN's product strategy, or what is the solution that you will start offering and that model. Right. So maybe we go back to the grassroots at a village. There are a bunch of small scale farmers. How would you engage with them?
So I think having worked so deeply in the tech, I understand where not to use tech. I think that's a big thing.
It's a big thing because your temptation is to use tech first.
And also understanding the core of tech from the sort of very first principle sort of thing.
Right.
And it's easier for me to sort of say, would this work? Would this doesn't work? Why do we care? Do we have to build in-house? Can we use WhatsApp and things like that? And those are some very, very important decisions from the product development process. And when I say product, in my mind, product is not our app. Product is this entire things moving together.
Right.
For us, it becomes lot more complex or multi-dimensional because we have a physical aspect of this product, right? So we have farmers bringing their crop to our collection center, to our distribution centers, and there's a lot of users, and it's a multi-stakeholder which is offline and online, and building this is very different than sort of building an online SaaS where you pay $9 a month. It's so very different.
Right.
And so more and more I'm sort of an everyday, this is an everyday thing because I'm still a product person, tech person. Oh, how do we automate this thing?
Right.
How do we bring efficiency? I'm observing a lot of the patterns or trying to observe a lot of patterns done by internal teammates, external folks, be it our customer, be it farmer, be it somewhere, and then suddenly, you know what, oh, this can be automated. Oh, this can, versus saying, hey, you know, let's just build this app. I'll tell you, you know, initially we had a farmer app and then we discontinued because we said, you know what, who will take the pain of build an app which can do all the things, and then you maintain so many versions of Android
because of just the reality of at the grassroots,
and then internet and all the stuff.
Right.
So we one day decided to, you know, cut that, and then said, you know what, a farmer interface will be WhatsApp. And it's such a beautiful decision because WhatsApp is everywhere.
Right.
There's no training cost.
Right.
And most of our communication with farmer today happen on WhatsApp.
Right.
So we're building more and more in and around that. Yeah.
The models around the WhatsApp ecosystem.
Correct.
So explain to me a little bit about the fundamental pillars of HFN. So like in my mind, you know, you have the market access.
Yeah.
Then to be able to enable that market access, you have the Kisan centers.
Yeah.
HFN centers, and then you also have Sarthis, which
Yes.
are like the facilitators at the grassroots level. So explain to me the core building blocks of HFN.
Sure. So we have to go back to the problem of small scale farmer. The problem of small scale farmer is that they're small. So what that means is when a small farmer goes out to buy a seed or a fertilizer or something, it is extremely costly for a very small player. You know, if you go buy from Costco, let's say,
Right.
you can buy a huge quantities, you get a good quality, you get a discount. But
Right.
if you're a small player, you often get shortchanged on the price, on the quality, or the availability because you're not on the top of the attention for the people who are selling to you. So that's
Right.
one big thing. And similarly, when it goes to selling, nobody cares about the small player because, oh, you only have a small, 200 kilos of papaya. You do not exist in the mind of market. So for market, they're very, very small.
As an individual.
Yeah. So they are always buying in retail and selling in wholesale. And when you think about it, it's such a huge problem. Ideally, you should be buying in wholesale and selling in retail.
To be able
That's
to
when
get the
you
price
make money,
advantage.
right?
That's
You get the
right.
price advantage.
Right.
How do you solve it? By making small farmers work together so that they can look like a big farmer.
Right.
This very simple sort of
Model.
observation.
Right.
But very strong. So if you look at what farmers or what government is trying to do is helping create cooperatives, it's just a reflection of same thing. But what we realize that the current FPO model or FPC model, cooperative models, the way government wants to do has a lot of flaws in it. There are better ways to execute the same thing. That is, how can we make 50, 100, 500 small farmers work together so that they can cooperate with themselves so that they look and behave like corporate. And that is the fundamental sort of work in progress every day for us, that how do we use technology so that without having any binding agreement between me, you and other people, they still end up working together and have the benefit what a big farmer might take. And that's the core of thing we are doing.
Got it.
Because when you have that, then you can solve market linkage, you can solve agri input, you can solve logistics, you can solve quality, you can solve carbon credit. Every single thing in India, a multi-trillion-dollar annual Indian agriculture market,
Right.
you can solve if you build these foundational layer, and that's what we have been doing.
Right.
So Sarthi is, a young entrepreneur, son or daughter of the village, of the farmer in the village,
Right.
where we identify them. We have set of processes through which we identify them, and then we empower them so that they can become feet and ears and eyes of HFN on the ground,
Right.
and sort of tie all these farmers together in this invisible thread and create a beautiful necklace which is worth something in the market.
Understood. But on paper, everything sounds very beautiful.
Yes.
And looks beautiful. And then there is this whole reality of the ecosystem. And the fact is that, unless we start peeling the onion and then kind of go layer by layer, the ease of doing business will not become visible.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you right now to tell me, because I think in this whole process of reaching out to these farmers at the grassroots level, this number is not small, right? 4 million
We
farmers.
have about 9,187 Sarathi as of this morning.
Right, wow, amazing. And then you have like how many Kisan centers?
We have multiple of them. Kisan centers have various degrees of things.
So basically the network around them is multiplying on that front. But now what I'm interested in is really the insights coming in from the grassroots, right? Like as you kind of go into each village, I see you kind of traveling to so many places, whether you are kind of, talking to farmers directly, and your team is also always out. Today the office is empty because you said the team is out to these many number of locations. Let's talk about some of those bigger pieces that we know that the government is spending money on, that you feel are not really kind of creating the unfair advantage for these farmers or for the ecosystem as such, right? Now, in India we have this mismatch between reality and the grassroots level. So I think the important part is that to bring this out so that we are able to address it. Correct. So what are your learnings from that perspective? Like, tell me some anecdotes or things that you have learned that you thought and assumed were something else, and maybe in the government, in the policymakers' mindset, it is something else, but reality is very different.
So I'll talk agriculture specifically, but few comments coming back from US to India.
Sure.
So I realize that India is such a low trust society, and it shows up again and again and again in various formats. Simple things like, typically in US, if you're writing a contract, that means contract.
It's enforceable.
It's enforceable. Here, even if you write a contract, it doesn't mean anything, because everything, let's say you are building a house, and this is a contract. Somebody is supposed to deliver your house in 12 months. It never happens on time. You keep negotiating same thing again and again and again and again. It is so much time consuming. That's like one aspect of it. Second aspect of it is, there's a lot of people are shortchanging each other so much. If you have given money to somebody, it's very, very hard to get the money out, even if they know. And it's not just small people. I have seen very, very big name, large organizations. Businesses. Maybe they are not formal businesses yet, but they have been doing business for like 100 years. There's a lot of, work needs to be done in order to get the money
that is due to you.
Is due to us. It is a massive work, as opposed to what it would have been in US. And this sort of shows up in many ways. You need to have different set of people. We are spending a lot of time just to recover money. We have to continuously engage. It's not enough to sort of really thought through the contract, but you have to keep following up the same thing. And it just waste of so much energy if you start looking from the productivity point of view.
Right.
That, hey, we just both discussed about this contract. It should be just one go.
Right.
And then should
but
be
this
done.
is more from let's say your with the buyers that you're probably talking to, or people like
overall
that, right?
India thing. But going back to this India agriculture government, a lot of inefficiencies. For example, if a farmer needs to go and get some license, we work with a lot of farmer cooperatives. Our foundation non-profit has created 19 farmer cooperatives from the ground in UP.
Right.
And we know that a farmer going to various departments, they are asked to, grease the wheels so that they can get license. And we get nuts in here because, hey, you know what, we are putting in so much energy to make these things happen, and here is this of government officer asking for some bucks.
So, Ruchit, we were looking at this lens on the grassroots.
Right.
That also tells us about how, let's say, a policy initiative from the government is working or not working.
Right.
So, what have we learned from the HFN story?
I think there's a lot of intent at the top, but there's a lot of implementation issues. For variety of reasons. For example, there is something called soil health card. Amazing initiative, but I don't think it is happening on the ground.
Soil health card.
Soil health card, where farmer was supposed to get a card and which will have the data about the soil health, and obviously it can unlock a lot of opportunities.
Right.
Things like creating FPOs, farmer cooperatives. There's a massive push from our Prime Minister itself, so that's great. But I think somewhere in the execution, it is not
Touching the ground.
touching the ground in a way it should be. There's a lot of gaps in how it could have really shaped Indian agriculture, but I think from my little bit of understanding, it looks like they're all busy in checking the boxes, then actually making sure that cooperative is built and flourishing and stuff like that. There are a lot of other things, like in every state I see tens of thousands of crores, like billions of dollars getting spent in putting together some infrastructure, whether it is a warehouse or sorting and grading machine or cold chain and stuff, but many of them, a large number of them, are unused. So it's like I don't know what piece there is missing, who gave them an idea that they have to start, and why they haven't really made it to use, because they have spent $1 billion, multi-billion dollar on creating these assets, which is sort of a disservice to the country, and that's where I think we need a Dodge kind of stuff. At least in Indian agriculture, because we do have money, we do have intent. There is some issue in a lot of these places, which if we can really help, use it properly, can simplify and help millions of farmers.
Right. So I also feel that I think in this kind of a scenario, like you rightly said, it's taxpayer money wanting to push country into the forward developed world status. We will have to eventually look at something like Doge, because unless we are able to measure what that rupee or a dollar is able to generate for the farmer, for the economy, for the ecosystem, it's going to be very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'll give an example. I still get a lot of RFPs from government and stuff, and it sounds like it's the same RFP they rolled 4 years ago, and 4 years ago it was the same thing. They just keep doing the same thing again and again and again without making much of a progress. Most of the ministers and bureaucrats, in my mind, and I'm sure there are some good people as well, they're still sort of stuck where they were like 30, 40, 50 years ago. So it sort of pains me a lot, because here I am using the private money trying to solve this niche, or trying to do this nation building activity.
Right.
And on the other hand, government is wasting billions of dollars on annual basis, yielding very little to no results.
Very little. And every budget we also have new initiatives and new schemes. So one of the things that I also saw in HFN story is to also help farmers become more aware about the government schemes, of which there are many.
Right.
So if I was to just maybe put in a request and say, what is the efficiency of each of these schemes, how many farmers are using it, what kind of productivity improvement or turnover improvement has it made a difference to, the report card, I think on the grassroots level is going to look very different, right?
Correct.
Right. So and also in a way, HFN kind of organizations is an answer to that execution gap that you're talking about, right? Like, what if there was a scenario where you could take some of these initiatives and really implement it and actually report very transparently to the government in terms of what is happening on the ground with those schemes? Would that make a difference?
It will make a huge difference. I'll tell you, so we at HFN see farmers as small business. And as soon as you start seeing those farmers as small business, the way you see that farmer figure, the whole narrative change, the whole policy building changes, the whole execution changes. And it is very important for everybody in India to start seeing farmer as a small business, including the government should do it.
Right.
Because They are an entrepreneur. They are just like me.
Right.
They have their needs, and we need to continue to serve them like an entrepreneur.
Right.
And this is sort of touching the MSP and other things, right? Because some farm is not working, and it could be not working because you are not a great farmer,
Right.
or the farm is not good, or the weather is not good for something,
soil is
and
not
bunch
good.
of stuff.
Yeah.
Like being an entrepreneur, maybe the thesis is wrong, maybe you don't have a right team, maybe the right inputs is not there, maybe the customer is not there.
Many layers.
The same thing applies there, and you try certain times, but after that, you don't have a government, anybody, you just keep loading you because I said I'm a farmer, right? So similar things needs to apply. I'm not saying that they don't need to be supported, but once you have this lens of a small business, you build better policies, but then those needs to have an end date, and you can have better things.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So, the other idea is that, the story that HFN is also unlocking a lot is this whole, I think, the huge amount of data, right?
Yes.
And when I think about it, there is, we talked about this in your earlier avatar of harvesting.co, where you're capturing this data from the satellites.
Yes.
We can look at, with that high resolution imagery, what is growing where,
Yes.
what state of, readiness is it in,
Yes.
if there is a infection or there is a pesticide issue, you can discover a lot of that through modern technology. And then on the other hand, you have this grassroots farmer network, including your Sarthis, who are kind of validating this data and matching it to what you see from the satellites. Right? So, and you can probably pinpoint exactly what produce is at what state of readiness in a given life cycle or a crop season.
Yes.
I think one of the most accurate pictures probably across India that will be generated.
Yes.
Talk to me a little bit about that, right? Like, because if you look at the diversity of the Indian landscape, you're touching farmers from Manipur to Kashmir to Lakshadweep, Andaman,
yes.
Which I don't know what they grow there. I'm
betel nuts.
Poor. Betel nuts?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm kind of poor on that part of the geography equation. But then there is this whole movement that in India, where we produce much more than just wheat and paddy.
Right.
How accurately can we create that value proposition for a farmer to start growing up the value curve, right? And I saw some examples. There were these anecdotes that I think you shared. Maybe talk a little bit about that, right? This farmer in Nilgiris is growing avocados.
Correct.
Selling them for 5 rupees a kg. Is that?
They were, yes.
They were?
Yes.
Right? And that product retails for at least 200, 300, 600 rupees plus sometimes a kg in an urban city. What kind of other stories are we uncovering in this space with the data and this other side of the equation where farmers are doing some magical work?
Sure. So let me sort of explain technology first, right? So what we started building was an AI where we will see from the sky what's happening. But as you can sort of see, for AI to work, you need ground truth data.
That's right.
Like you have to tell the machine that here's a cat, here's a cat, here's a cat, and then after a few attempts, machine knows what is the cat.
It's like the pre-training of the... Yeah, that's right.
But because crop and the geography and the topography and everything varies a lot, you have to sort of train the engine to tell what is where. So although we have built a top-down model through remote sensing and high-performance computing engine and stuff like that, what we were missing, and that was the missing part I was talking earlier, that a near free ground truth data. So now because of our massive ground network, every day I know what this farmer, where the farmer is, what he's growing. He's telling me, or the system, what they are doing in the farm. That enriches our model, and that allows us to do a lot of things at the farm level. For example, for the state of Punjab in India, we are the probably only private organization which can tell how many acres of paddy is right now on the field, what may be the yield, and it is much better than the government infrastructure out there. And that's massive because Punjab state itself produces multi-billion-dollar worth of wheat or paddy every year. Imagine the kind of things which can happen around it. You need to arrange storage for it. You need to arrange bags for it. You need to arrange trucks for it. You need to arrange customers for it. You need to arrange the pickup from the farmers. It's a whole 9 yard around these multi-billion-dollar
Right,
things. So
right.
if you talk about from the financial perspective, it's like, oh, now suddenly our model or the systems would be able to measure and monitor this multi-trillion-dollar asset, which is the crop, which was not there before.
Right.
And there's so much things we can have. We can design policies better. We can execute policies better. We can get farmers their price and so on and so forth.
Right,
Like,
right.
relate to the onion things.
Right. And in fact,
So-
this is the part that I wanted to demystify for our audience also, because when we look at these whole stories that are there in the mainstream media around farmer suicides, challenges that farmers face, one has to go into the details as to why some of this thing is happening, and maybe if there are
it's about data, right?
It's about data.
So what happens typically, a very grassroots level example. You are a farmer, you saw a neighboring village guy making tons of money using potato.
Right.
You go and you sow potato, but then so does the other 500 farmers in your village. Everybody is growing potato and market crashes.
Right.
That thing can be solved so simply if you have data. So now, because we are building this nation level
Wide
platform,
Yeah.
slowly and steadily, I know how many farmers growing onions versus potatoes versus bottle gourd, and that allows one slowly and steadily that, hey, you know what, the 110th farmer engaging with HFN, we can tell him that, hey, likelihood of you not making money is 98% because
You should switch
I know
crops.
100 other farmers in your village has bought seed from us of potato. You should probably grow onions.
Right.
And that's all data driven work, which unfortunately government has not been able to deliver.
Right. So I think this is a very critical point, because there is asset monitoring. In this case, this is really about the farmlands. There is also this whole value chain that you just described.
Yes.
I think the fundamental assumption when we think about agriculture in normal context is that there are only a few pieces that we have to put in place, and then everything will work fine. But like we just described, from the number of bags that you need for packaging, predicting based on what's the yield going to be, based on what the soil health is going to be, where they need to be transported, where demand is, where upstream demand for export or import is, this whole network needs to have efficiency at every level factored in. I think somewhere HFN is contributing to that journey.
It really depends on how far you are seeing and what's your goal. If you are building a company which is like 5 years, let's flip it, you might just want to just say, hey, I'll buy all potatoes or onions. But that also has huge negative impact. You have to bring the entire ecosystem up,
Right.
so that it can continue. So in my head, we are building a company which would last hopefully 300 years.
Right.
How do you envision, how do you bring 120 small scale farmers, not
Right.
just talking, but they're all flourishing.
Right.
So if I'm just into, let's say, input,
Right.
there are a lot of organizations doing input work.
Right.
There's no incentive for them to actually ensuring that output happens. It happens healthy.
Right.
It happens on time and stuff like that.
Right.
I may be selling a lot of high yield seed.
Right.
Without actually thinking, oh, who will buy that crop?
Correct.
And similarly, vice versa.
Right.
Here at HFN, we are thinking 360 degree, because that's when you do the justice for the entire ecosystem.
Right. It's like switching crops. It's like managing risks, and then helping peers achieve certain goals. Sometimes I feel that Ruchit, we need like this whole 150, 200, 300 year plan
Yes.
for the agricultural economy in the
Yes.
country. Right? We don't treat it at power. At par. Sorry, we talk about the fact that today, technology, and specifically if I just relate to the AI world, we're talking about making investments in areas where we can do fundamental research and come up with these foundation models, for example, in AI. We don't make plans for agriculture economy that are 300 years out, right? 500 years out or 150 years out. I think somewhere we need to start factoring that in, that there is this story around climate change that we need to start to adapt, because I think we will be in for a shock based on what happens in terms of the short-term, events from a climate change perspective if we are not preparing the farmer.
I mean, I think in my mind, it's more I would love to see more execution
More execution.
on ground
Right.
versus 300 year plan, because
Right.
given the...
But that vision, I'm talking about the vision. See, if
we
we give that attention, then we don't come up with short-term policies. Like you say, the short-term policy, we only flip it next year.
Yeah.
And then we go back to some other policy that worked for us. And in a nation so diverse as ours, is with crops as diverse as ours, ours, we can't really map to that piece unless we also know the aggregate picture.
Yeah.
So I think the point that I'm making is really about having that solid vision that if India was SOTA, state of the art on agriculture,
Right.
what would that vision look like?
And glad you mentioned carbon and stuff like that. I think lot of the initiatives likes of Bill Gates doing, some machine, I think it's useless. They need to, I think people needs to come back to fundamental.
Right.
Put more trees, make more, agroforest, make more food forest.
Right.
Things like that. I know it doesn't help capitalists to make money, but that is the way to solve things.
Right.
If you, again, I have maybe we can talk about it in some separate, time.
Right.
But a lot of the innovation, I think, is getting driven by a lot of folks because they are very one-dimensional in solving. Because in solving this one-dimensional, they are screwing up other dimensions. And as
It's
living
a systems
being,
problem.
it's a system problem.
That's
exactly right. People are trying to do things like carbon capturing machine. It is just one dimension thing. Oh, there's a big machine which will suck all the oxygen.
Right.
Put a tree. It does lot of things.
Yeah.
And it's cheaper. It gives you food. It gives you home. It also
Protects the soil.
protects the
everything.
soil. It gives you homes to the animals, which helps you seed the next forest.
So look
and
at
stuff
solutions
like
that help the system problem.
It's a system problem
that are
and
sustainable in
people are trying
themselves.
to solve one dimensionally. It will come, including EVs. It will come bite us in 15 years.
Right.
Yeah, we'll be sitting on this lithium nickel garbage like
That we need to recycle and figure out to refine and reprocess.
I mean, people are making money, understand, but this will all come bite
No,
us.
but these are important questions to answer.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right.
Do
Absolutely.
simple things. Why don't we put trees on the side of the road? Make it mandatory. People don't do it because they don't make money out of it as much.
That's right.
And that's a human problem, I guess.
Right. Let me pause here for just asking you another question. You've raised money from international investors as well in HFN, right? Like Chamat's social capital is also an investor. Like, how did he relate to this problem? I'm very curious, right? Like, why did he choose to invest in HFN?
Because I am awesome.
No, besides that.
Yeah. No, I think I believe, and again, you have to ask this question to Chamat, but he saw the craziness in me that, hey, here's this guy who left everything. It's so easy to be in Silicon Valley doing simple things. Then he moved entire family and he's out there doing for years and years and years and not giving up. And somewhere I'm assuming it's some pattern in his head. Say, you know what, this is worth taking the bet.
Right.
And as the name suggests, social capital. I mean, the work we are doing is a lot of social impact which we are doing. And having known to him for several years now, I do believe he's a very, very nice human
being.
And he cares about a lot of things. And I think he does truly feels that the work we are doing, if it works out, obviously, it will bring in a lot of impact. Yeah.
Right. And I also feel that, I think when we started this podcast, we talked about the fact that this is we focused around small scale farmers, small holding farmers. These are also translatable in Africa, in Brazil, global and Latin America, and all those kind of places. What is the vision that you have for the future? Maybe you'll perfect something. Will HFN be that born in India global network?
Possibly. Yeah, I mean, I always think about how do we take it, and not just, I mean, obviously we'll make money, but think about, this is enormous amount of energy and the work we have done. How can we solve the problem of another billion lives? And we are trying to put wrappers around our sort of a software and physical to sort of templatize it and say, hey, can we take it to Kenya or Ethiopia or Dominican Republic? And I get a lot of inbound leads from Dominican Republic, from South Africa to a lot of other places in the world, we're not choosing yet to go there because I think there's a lot of work to be done in India. But at some point in future, I do see that the work we are doing, there'll be a lot of farmers we can help. Yeah. In fact, in US, I've been talking to a lot of farmers in places like Montana, and I could see the systems we have built can be useful there as well.
Right. So, that brings me to the point that, obviously the fashionable thing also is to say, let's look at agri-tech as the universe, right? And agri-tech as a universe has many dimensions to it. But when you combine it with this grassroots initiative, then there is a whole new world that opens up. And I was like very fascinated by one of these tweets that you had made some time back, actually a while back, which really said, what does a farm accelerator look like? So explain to me, what is the farm accelerator in your vision? What is the farm test bed, a farmer test bed in your vision?
So we are in 13,000 plus villages.
Right.
Is a lot of villages. And while again, we are in the startup ecosystem, I get to see a lot of innovations, whether it is from the large companies, corporates, or from, smaller 2% team.
Right.
And we are in a position to help these entrepreneurs get distribution. And that allows us to think that, hey, you know what? These are the innovation. Maybe this is an innovation in an input or an innovation in a tractor or drone or whatever. There could be best of the ideas, but if they don't really necessarily have distribution,
right,
and or access to the farm and a farmer who is very friendly to them and the new ideas. Because we have presence on ground, we make it easier for a lot of these entrepreneurs we help them open the doors
right
at the village,
right,
and sort of accelerate their growth. So we're doing some bunch of stuff. We have worked with a bunch of small farmers or entrepreneurs. We also help a lot of multi-billion-dollar companies take their new ideas to the farmers.
Right.
Some of them include, somebody is creating next version of what potato seed may look like. And they are talking to us in terms of, hey, can you help us do the trial in India?
Right.
If they have to do themselves, it will cost enormous amount of money and effort.
Right.
And for us, it's much easier because we are there in the village with the farmers day in and day out in 13,000 plus villages at this moment.
Right.
And yeah, we are the sort of accelerator in that way.
Right.
And to me, I believe as I'm trying to solve the ecosystem, I also need to support the ecosystem. So we were sort of continuously building, thinking, talking that, hey, can I support you guys? How do we do it? And yeah.
No, I was very fascinated by this this concept simply because one is that, you are basically framing a farm and perhaps a village as a real startup lab.
Yes.
Right? That is the core, right? If you start to define it and look at it not as a welfare zone.
Yes.
But as a startup lab,
yes,
I think it unlocks tremendous amount of values. And then I was thinking about this whole idea of WhatsApp and other pieces. Like if you have like 10 farmers real time trialing a certain seed.
Correct.
Just imagine the kind of data that will come to you, which is like grassroots, right? Like in terms of what is the experience and exposure to different elements, right? You just don't have to put an IoT device to do it, but you'll get it from the farmers straight up. Right? So that also is a very uniquely grassroots level experimental design that can help you figure out. So I think
because at the end of the day, right, as I tell my team that we are in the business of creating trust.
Right.
And that's the hardest part.
Right.
And also easiest in some way. You do the right thing.
Right. Once you earn the trust, you can do many things. Right.
So we are winning the trust. We're winning the trust, and that takes us so far away. No amount of contract can do what a trust between two parties can take.
Right.
And I think continuously by doing right things, hopefully, we're just building these HFN trust in the minds of millions of farmers. And we are hoping that we then build in and bring right players who can ride on that trust and accelerate their growth as well.
Right. Tell me, Ruchit, as a founder, what are the things that kind of make you stay awake at night, right? Like, because this trust is very delicate, right? It can break any time. And because it's a large reach that you have, huge reach that you have, what is it that worries you? Like challenges that you see?
I mean, everything. But I think nowadays, we are not growing fast. How do we solve all the problems? if we tilt too much on one side, this might off till the other side and stuff
There's
like
going to
that.
be breakage on the
So
other
there's
side.
this constantly this multi-stakeholder problems.
Right.
That, I can push a button on quality. Let's, for example, we sell, millions of kilos of vegetable every month right now. And there's a lot of pressure from the buyers to have a quality product. But
Right.
in the farm, you have all sort of quality. You have A quality, B quality, C quality. So while I have to cater to the A quality customer,
Right.
I have to also think about B quality and the C quality and the pricing and the transportation,
Right.
the whole nine yard. And those things always keep us at our toes and also keeps me awake in terms of, okay, how do we do this? Or what
Right.
if we have, India has about 7 lakh villages, go and take. We would want HFN Kisan Center in every single of those villages. What would that look like? How do we templatize it? How many crates we may have to arrange to do that thing?
Right.
In my mind, you might know Azadpur Mandi,
That's right.
Asia's largest mandi.
New Delhi,
In my
yeah.
mind, I'm like, oh, what is the next generation of Azadpur Mandi? What would it look like in 2015? Would this be same messy, or
Right.
could this be
Right.
a robot-driven thing wherein farmer just brings the crop,
Right.
and within seconds on the other side,
Right.
we generate a token for him or her.
Right.
Say, hey, your crop is this and the quality is this, and we will be giving you 10,000 rupees immediately deposited to his account and
Right.
things like that.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Now, I have a question on the human side of HFN, right? So one is the trust that you're earning with the
Right.
founders, the other of the farmers. The other side is really, what kind of young people are attracted to HFN right now? What are your employees like? Like, why would somebody come and work for you at HFN? What are you learning there? Because, in this world that we are living in today, you can go to a nice D2C brand,
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
be an influencer on the internet,
Yeah.
or you can do something that gets talked about in the media a lot. But why would somebody, a younger person in India, why should they come and join you and work for you in the villages? What's the profile of the
I think
people like?
people gravitate towards us is because the work we are doing is very, very meaningful. And a lot of these young generation, and some of them are actually coming from villages, right?
Right.
They have seen farming up close. And they're able to relate that, oh, this is the problem they want to spend working on, right?
Right.
Like if you look at how the aspiration of the potential employees have changed. Earlier it was like, oh, I need job, whatever it is.
Right.
And then I need a better job. From now, they have a safety net. They want to focus on what is important. And I could see in my kids and other kids that, hey, you know what, this is important for me and the society. And that gravitates a lot of people towards, HFN. And obviously, we have built a really nice office. We have a lot of perks of going to the farm and staying with them and understanding. But I think that's the fundamental thing, that it is true to their hearts.
Right.
And it is really, they can see out there that there's so many lives which are getting changed because of the work we are doing.
Right. This whole village to city migration
Yes.
Is something that you feel that HFN will be able to reverse a little bit, because I think they will be equal opportunity or even
Yes,
better.
yes.
Because
So all
we
those
discussed that.
9,187 Sarthi, if let's say they were not engaged in HFN, probably they would become part of the urban ecosystem,
Right.
and they would probably be doing. There's a lot of pressure on the urban infrastructure.
That's right.
There's a lot of humans, issues around it.
That's right.
That they would probably become, a
Right.
guard of the society of something like that. Versus being an entrepreneur back in the village where they're eating at
Right.
their home, breathing the fresher
Freshest air.
airs and stuff like that.
Right.
And then these guys are, on the other hand, are also creating jobs.
Right.
So there are people I know who have sort of bought crores worth of potatoes from their village and sold to us. There are people who make 30,000, 40,000 rupees a month in a village, which is probably like making 1.5 lakh rupees a month in Bangalore.
Right.
Right, because somebody is making 50,000 rupees in far village.
Right.
Is a lot more valuable because
That's
he's
right.
not paying rent, food is free,
Right.
air is clean, there's no
Right.
medical bill,
Right.
and he's keeping all the money in the pocket. So
Right.
I do believe there's a lot of positive changes we will be able to drive.
Right.
I've been also thinking about, we have Kisan Center at so many villages. Can these Kisan Center become, why do we have a social media guy here? Maybe a social media guy can be sitting at Kisan Center,
Right.
or bunch of stuff like that. So I'm constantly thinking, oh, how can we sort of just engage this young talent in village,
Right.
and keep them there, and then sort of become much more holistic, much more fully distributed organization.
Got it. So to conclude, I think this has been really a fascinating conversation. I want to also look at this new world that you're entering into, right? There are now HFN as a brand.
Yes.
Products that you're kind of taking to the market. Like, what is that journey like, and how is it that shaping up?
So again, like as I said, small farmers are small. That's the problem. A lot of the farmers have graduated now through our efforts and some government push. Instead of just growing millet, they have now sort of graduated to also creating some cookies. And there are a lot of cooperatives doing it. What we realize that there's an opportunity there wherein we can give them a platform, an umbrella platform for their finished goods, so that their packaging looks nice, their pricing looks appealing, they have online and offline channels to sell. And we have done a lot of work in terms of building that work. And
distribution as well, right? Because now it's on quick commerce platforms, and
so we still test running a lot of these things. But our HFN mustard oil,
right,
we sold about 1 lakh liters,
right,
without any ad spend,
right,
over 1 lakh kilos of wheat flour without any ad spend,
right.
And then based on that success, many of these cooperatives are now signing up with us. We'll soon bring various pulses, it could be honeys, saffron, a lot of stuff wherein we're giving a brand to the farmer cooperatives so that they can become a lot more successful.
Right. It's really goes back to the trust. So basically the HFN brand value is the trust equation that adds to the product. Now this has been really fascinating, and I think the biggest takeaway for me, Ruchit, and thank you so much for doing this pod with us, is that this really humanizes the whole HFN platform for me, right? Like, I can see the farmer behind the Harvesting Farmer Network, and I think that's really the big takeaway for me, and the opportunities are endless. So thank you so much for the podcast today. Great chatting with you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ruchit.